There's a reason you feel tired. Even when you've done nothing all day, it's not your body, it's your mind, the constant pretending, the constant reacting, the constant swallowing of emotions you never had the courage to face. Most people are not exhausted from work. They are exhausted from fighting themselves every single day. And the terrifying part? Nobody notices. You smile. You reply politely. You post normal photos. You laugh at conversations you don't even care about anymore. But deep inside, something is collapsing. Your discipline, your focus, your self-respect, because modern life trains people to escape discomfort instead of mastering it. And that is exactly why so many people feel emotionally weak without understanding. Why Marcus Aurelius understood this long before social media, before distractions, before dopamine addiction. He knew the real war was never outside. It was inside the mind, and if you stay until the end, the final practice may completely change the way you see pain, loneliness, and emotional control forever. So subscribe, like the video, and stay with this until the end, because this isn't just philosophy. This is survival for people trying to rebuild themselves in silence. The first practice is brutal because it forces you to confront something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Wake up before your emotions. 2. Most people lose the day in the first 10 minutes. After waking up, they check notifications, compare their lives, absorb stress, absorb other people's energy. Before they even stand up, their mind already belongs to the world. The Stoics believed mornings were sacred because the mind is weakest before it remembers its purpose. Marcus Aurelius used to remind himself every morning that he would meet selfish people, dishonest people, arrogant people, and still remain calm. Think about the power of that. He prepared his mind before life attacked it. That is discipline, not motivation. Not hype, preparation, because emotions are strongest when the mind is unprepared. And maybe that's why you keep losing control. Not because you're weak, but because your mornings have no direction. A man without a disciplined morning becomes emotionally available to everything. Every opinion, every rejection, every delay, every message left unread, and slowly his peace disappears. The second practice is something modern people secretly fear. Learn to sit in silence without escaping yourself. No music, no scrolling, no constant stimulation, just silence, because silence reveals things. Distraction hides, it reveals insecurity, loneliness, regret, neediness, emotional dependency. That's why people are terrified of being alone with their thoughts. The moment silence enters the room, unresolved emotions begin speaking, and most people immediately run. They open apps, text people, watch videos, search for attention, anything, to avoid meeting themselves. But the Stoics understood something dangerous. The person who can sit alone in silence without needing validation becomes emotionally untouchable, because once you stop fearing your own mind, other people lose the power to control it. That's why emotionally strong people seem different. Calmer, harder to manipulate, harder to provoke. They don't need noise to survive. They've already made peace with silence. The third practice is painful because it attacks the ego directly. Stop explaining yourself to everyone. Marcus Aurelius believed character reveals itself through action. Not endless words, but modern people explain everything. Why they left, why they're hurt, why they're angry, why they deserve respect. And the more someone explains themselves, the weaker they appear emotionally, because true self-respect doesn't beg to be understood. It remains composed even when misunderstood. That's difficult, especially when someone betrays you, especially when someone lies about you, especially when someone walks away without closure. Your ego screams, make them understand. But Stoicism teaches something colder. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Sometimes silence protects your dignity better than emotional reactions ever could, and deep down, you already know that. Some of your biggest regrets came from emotional over-explaining. Too many words, too much vulnerability to the wrong people, too much chasing. Discipline means knowing when silence is power. The fourth practice is where mental strength truly begins. Train yourself to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Cold showers, hard conversations, lonely nights, discipline when nobody is watching. The Stoics intentionally practiced discomfort because they knew comfort creates fragile minds. Look around today. People panic over delayed replies, over boredom, over rejection, over criticism. Why? Because they've trained themselves to avoid emotional pain at all costs. But avoidance weakens people. Every time you run from discomfort, your mind learns fear. Every time you face discomfort calmly, your mind learns power. That's why discipline changes a person psychologically. Not because routines are magical, but because every small act of self-control teaches the brain, I can survive difficulty. And eventually, you stop breaking so easily. You stop collapsing. Every time life becomes inconvenient to you, will become harder to shake. The fifth practice might be the most difficult in modern life. Stop needing constant attention. This one destroys people internally. Because many are not addicted to love. They are addicted to reassurance. They need messages, compliments, validation, proof they matter. Without it, they feel invisible. And invisible people become emotionally desperate. Marcus Aurelius warned against becoming dependent on external approval because the moment your worth depends on others. Your peace belongs to others too. Think carefully about that. The need for attention creates emotional slavery. You begin performing instead of living, posting instead of experiencing, seeking reactions instead of building yourself. And eventually you forget who you are without an audience. Real discipline is being able to improve your life quietly, without announcing it, without validation, without applause, because true power grows in silence first. The sixth practice feels almost cruel at first. Accept that people will disappoint you, not because humans are evil, but because humans are human. People change, people betray, people become cold. People choose convenience over loyalty, and every time this happens, sensitive people destroy themselves asking, why? But Stoicism removes the illusion. Marcus Aurelius understood that expecting perfection from imperfect people guarantees suffering. That doesn't mean becoming heartless. It means becoming emotionally realistic. You stop being shocked by human nature, and strangely, that makes you calmer. You stop taking every betrayal personally. You stop romanticizing people. You stop expecting emotional maturity from emotionally immature individuals, and this changes everything. Because disappointment hurts less when acceptance becomes stronger. The seventh practice is where discipline becomes identity. Control your reactions before they control your life. Most damage in life happens in emotional moments. One impulsive message, one angry outburst, one emotional decision made at midnight, and suddenly everything changes. Stoicism teaches that emotions themselves are not weakness, uncontrolled. Emotions are. That's the difference. A disciplined mind feels anger without becoming destructive, feels sadness without collapsing, feels attraction without losing dignity. That level of emotional control is rare today, because modern culture encourages emotional impulsiveness and say what you feel. React immediately. Express everything. But Marcus Aurelius believed emotional mastery creates freedom. Because if other people can control your reactions, they control you. That's why calm people are dangerous. They think before reacting, observe before speaking, detach before exploding, and people mistake their silence for weakness until it's too late. The eighth practice is deeply personal. Treat your mind like something sacred. Most people allow garbage into their minds all day long. Drama, negativity, comparison, jealousy, pointless opinions, and then they wonder why they feel mentally exhausted. Your mind absorbs what you repeatedly expose it to. That's why disciplined people protect their attention carefully. Because attention becomes identity over time. If you constantly consume chaos, you become chaotic internally. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to return to clarity, to return to reason, to return to himself, and maybe that's what you need too. Not more motivation, just fewer things poisoning your peace. Sometimes healing begins when noise ends. The ninth practice is brutal because almost nobody does it honestly. Face yourself every night. Before sleeping, ask yourself difficult questions. Where did I lose control today? Where did ego control me? Where did fear speak for me? Where did I betray my own standards? The Stoics believe self-awareness creates transformation, not self-hatred. Awareness. Because you cannot discipline a person who refuses to see themselves clearly. Most people lie to themselves constantly. They blame others, blame timing, blame circumstances. But disciplined people take responsibility even when it hurts. And that honesty creates strength most people never develop. Because real growth begins the moment excuses end. And finally, the 10th practice. Remember that everything ends. Every relationship, every emotion, every painful chapter, every moment of embarrassment, every rejection, even you. Marcus Aurelius constantly reflected on death not to become depressed, but to become free. Because when you truly understand life is temporary, strange things begin happening. Your ego weakens. Your fear weakens. Your need for approval weakens. You stop wasting energy trying to impress people who won't even matter in a few years. You stop obsessing over temporary emotions. You begin living more honestly, more courageously, more intentionally. And suddenly discipline no longer feels like punishment. It feels like self-respect. Because you realize time is disappearing every single day. And one day, there will be no more chances to become the person you keep promising yourself you'll become later. That realization changes people. Quietly, permanently. The truth is, Stoicism was never about becoming emotionless. It was about becoming unbreakable. About learning how to suffer without losing yourself. How to love without becoming weak. How to walk through rejection, loneliness, betrayal, and chaos without abandoning your dignity. And maybe that's why these teachings still survive thousands of years later. Because human nature hasn't changed. People still crave attention. Still fear loneliness. Still lose themselves chasing validation. But the rare few learn discipline, silence, emotional control. And those people move through life differently. Calmer eyes, stronger minds, less noise inside them. Not because life became easier, but because they became stronger than their impulses. And if you truly understood even one lesson from this video, it should be this. Your mind becomes whatever you repeatedly allow. Protect it carefully. Train it daily. Because in the end, your greatest battle will never be against the world. It will always be against the version of yourself that wants comfort over growth. And every single day, you must decide which one wins. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.